Hello, AP Environmental Science. Of course, I would love to be there to go over my class syllabus, essentially my rules with you, but for obvious reasons, that will not be able to take place. And rather than waiting to give this to you until I return, it's totally cool, in my opinion, just to make a video. So everybody should have a copy. Please make sure that you have the one for AP Environmental Science, as it looks nearly identical to the one for biology. All right, and basically, we're going to go through this. You can read along, and I would encourage you maybe even to take some notes where I elaborate on what is in here. But of course, you can always ask me about my rules as the year goes on. All right, so let's see. I've got two kids and a wife. Been married to my wife, Alyssa, since 1998. I've got two kids, like I said. Logan is in his fifth semester of college, and my younger son, Gage, graduated last year, and he plans to go to junior college next year. I graduated from Sac State with conservation biology, and I also had a geology minor. And I got my geology minor just basically because I really liked the earth sciences, and ironically, it is what enabled me to teach at Rio, because they originally needed a biology and an earth science teacher, and that background in the earth sciences is what got me the gig. And since then, of course, we no longer teach earth science. They've kind of integrated those topics into biology, chemistry, and physics. All right, got my teaching credential in '04, which is what enabled me to get into the classroom, and then I followed that up with a master's from National University. Let's see. I do really enjoy teaching. It is a blessing that I get to spend a year with young minds, and I really hope that I can pass on some of what I've learned and some of my goals and morals along to you. And I hope that we have a great year together, of course. All right, grades are pretty straightforward. You can check your grade 24 hours a day with the portal. Let's see. This is really the only change, and I mistakenly did not include it. I actually dropped my D minus down to 54.5%. And depending on the year, I have been known to go a little lower than that. It's very rare that I see students in my AP Environmental Science class in this region. Typically, about 50% of the kids in each class ends up with an A. It's not a hard class, but you must be organized and you must be focused. We do a lot of work, but the work itself isn't all that complicated. My overall goal is to get you guys ready for the AP test. I do understand that some of you aren't going to take the AP test. I really would encourage you to maybe consider a different class, because once we get to late March and we start our review period of 3 to 4 weeks, if you're not taking the AP test, it's going to seem like it's a useless time for you. I'm happy to have any student in the class, but I do gear this class to preparing you for the AP test. Let's see. So I do pluses and minuses. One thing I do want to point out about taking the AP test is if you get a 5 on the AP test, you get a 10% grade bump for each semester. And if you get a 4%, or pardon me, a 4 on the AP test, you get a 5% grade bump for both semesters. Now, granted, if you are getting a 5 on the test, you probably have an A in the class already. But just to give you some information, I did make 7 grade changes after I got my AP test results this summer. And most of them were, a couple were from a C to a B, and the rest of them were from a B to an A. Checking grades, portal. When I enter a lot of work, or when I enter an assignment that has significant points, usually I will email the entire group so you can know when to go check your grades. And of course, if you ever have any concerns about how I've graded something or a missing assignment, you can talk to me in class or you can email me. Citizenship, everybody starts off with an A. Pretty much the only ways to lose a citizenship grade are excessive tardies or excessive abuses using cell phones. I'm a unique teacher on campus in that many times I remove your phone from you I'm not going to really do any of that until I get into the classroom, but there will be buckets on the table. You put your phones in the buckets, and then I'll put all the buckets in a big pile up in the front of the room where everybody can see them. On many times when you may need access to your phone, if we're taking notes or something like that, what I'll do is I'll just simply have the buckets on the desk and a cap on the bucket, or a top on the bucket, so you have to keep your hands out of it. All right. So really, other than that, I rarely have behavior issues. But of course, if I do have behavior issues, or if I have issues where a student is caught cheating on an assignment and or an exam, that also could affect citizenship. Let's see. My tardy policy is I give 5 freebies. I kind of keep that on the down low. The school policy is, I believe, that you get 2. I'm on the back of campus. It's a really long trek, especially for juniors and seniors, depending on where they're coming from. I encourage you to have your book in your backpack on days where you will need your book, because it is difficult to get from your locker all the way down to my room. So I give you 5 freebies. 6, 7, 8, and 9 are detentions. Those detentions may or may not be served as lunch detention if you have a good reason. 2 lunch detentions would satisfy a detention, but that depends on my availability and you having a good reason or not. If you get to 10 tardies, that would be Saturday school. Everything 10 and above is Saturday school. All right, hall passes. Let's see. So you get 10 trips per semester, and I do track those. The process is, and I'm hoping the sub has already talked to you about this, is over by the window, there is a laminated pass. You fill out all the information, please, first and last name. Take a look at the clock that is there, or in a situation where you have your phone, put the time on there. I do keep track of when you leave, and if you need more than 5 minutes, just simply say, Paulus, I need more than 5 minutes. Unless you're telling me that a lot, I'm not going to ask you about it. So please be back within 5 minutes. If you're not, obviously, stick around after class and tell me why you were not. If it's a frequent abuse, we'll have to figure out something. But if it's just on occasion and you have reasons, I'm willing to let you be a little longer than 5 minutes. Here's what we talked about. Up to 5, no penalty for tardies. 6 through 9 is a detention, and 10 or more is a Saturday school assignment. Misbehavior typically is just talking, when it's inappropriate, I'll give you the death stare, or simply come and stand next to you. But typically in my AP class, kids in that class are interested in getting through the content so they can prepare for the AP test. I don't typically have that problem with my upperclassmen. Electronic devices, phones, tossing items. Again, if it's a harmless thing and it's not something with a sharp edge, I'll simply say, don't throw anything. If I happen to call you out in class for anything like this, don't take it personally. I'm just not the type of teacher that likes to pull kids aside and say, Johnny, I didn't really appreciate what you did today. I tell you, I didn't appreciate it. If it's in front of everybody, and that makes you uncomfortable, I apologize. But I'm not that type of teacher that talks to students individually about small stuff like that. Large stuff or very, very embarrassing stuff, of course, we will have a private conversation. Drawing on the tables, please keep the tables clean. I have to wipe those things down every couple weeks. So if you need something to doodle on, come and grab a piece of scratch paper and doodle on it. Please keep the environment clean. Those things could end up in a detention, depending on the severity, could end up in a Saturday school. Referral typically ends up in Saturday school. Academic grades, approximately 50% of the points are everything that we do in the class. The values of the exams vary throughout the year or from year to year. If I've got 50 points of homework and other items for a unit, then the test is going to be about 50 points. And the tests are multiple choice, so if it's a 50 question test, then each question is going to be 1. If it's a 40 question test, then each question is going to be worth 1.25, I believe. Final, typically, usually I end up with about 350 to 450 points for the semester. So that would make your final approximately 45 to 50 points, or 35 to 50 points. Okay. Your final exam, you only have one of those. That will be for the fall semester. I model it exactly like an AP test. There'll be 3 free response questions, one of them math-based, and there will be 80 multiple choice questions. Those multiple choice questions will be, some of them will be reused questions from the unit tests. And you will receive a study guide for all the tests and a study guide for the final. Because your AP test environment, I think it's about 3 hours. Obviously, we can't do the entire thing on the day of finals. So we'll split it up. We'll do like maybe a free response question on a day as we approach the end of the semester. We'll do 2 more free response questions on another day. And then we'll do all of the multiple choice on the actual day of the final. And you'll have, I think it's 75 minutes to do 80 multiple choice questions. It's either 70 or 75, but it will be the exact same time that you have to do everything else. And you'll be surprised at how easily it is to get an A or B on that final. You'll be surprised at how easy it would be to get a 4 or a 5 on the AP test if you apply yourself. I'll show you the actual grading scale, but you'll be shocked at how I think you need like 60 to 65 multiple choice questions correct, and then I think it's an average of 6 out of 10 on your 3 free response questions gives you an easy 4. And of course, if you do better, sorry about that, go Ducks. If you do better than that, that's my sub. If you do better than that, you'll have a legitimate shot at a 5. Give me 1 second. Let me take a look at this text. Ironic. She's asking about whether or not you guys get the syllabus, and I'm telling her, nope, it's going to be next week. All right. Okay, let's see. Homework and assignments. Like I said, it's a very, very busy class. You're always going to have reading notes assigned. The plan is to lecture twice a week on class notes. There'll be labs, movie worksheets, all sorts of different types of assignments. These workbook pages, that's actually for biology. Ignore that. Study guides are extra credit. You'll get a study guide for every exam that you take, and the study guides are very, very representative of the information you'll need to know for the test. Let's see, assignments will be graded on average 3 to 4 times per week. I'm pretty good about getting stuff entered and entered on time. Reading notes and class notes, all I'm doing is basically scanning to make sure that it's all there and make sure that you're taking notes on the right thing. Lab reports and labs do take a little bit longer. Typically, I'm going to be collecting those either at the beginning of the week and have them entered by the end of the week, or maybe on a Thursday or a Friday and have them entered by the end of the weekend. Let's see. You will not have to worry about assignment numbers. That's for binder checks, and that's something I've chosen to do only with my biology kids. Let's see. Some of your homework is going to be in Google Classroom. I always make that due on at midnight on a certain day. I would always encourage you to enter it into Google Classroom as soon as you finish it and not wait until, obviously minutes before. I'm pretty cool if it's, 15 or 20 minutes late. But if it becomes habitual and you're always turning in things late, my policy is 50% of the assignment is lost if it is turned in late. Obviously, things that are due in class, like labs, you will be turning those in at the beginning of the class. I'll make last call, and once I make last call, I'll grab the papers and then throw them in the inbox. If they end up in the box up front, that would be same thing, half credit. If you need flexibility on some extra time for an assignment because maybe you got injured or maybe you have a family emergency or maybe you're just overwhelmed with your other classes, I'm very flexible as long as you approach me before it's due. For example, if it's due at midnight on a Thursday, because that's when I'm recording the video, and you happen to ask me Thursday morning, I'll probably say yes, maybe even more than once throughout the semester or throughout the year. But if you're asking me at 11 p.m., I'm not going to be flexible. You need to be working on these assignments that are significant a little bit each day versus waiting until the last minute. Okay. If you are absent, best way to find out what you've missed is get in touch with a friend that had the class that day. I will be doing all the same assignments for all 3 of my AP classes. Mrs. Macklem is also teaching in AP Environmental Science. I cannot guarantee that she's going to be following the same pace that I do. I have given her all my curriculum, but it's up to her as to whether or not she decides to use it. So get in touch with another student or just simply email me. I mean, if you know you're going to be absent, especially in advance, it's possible I can give you things to do in advance. I can send you a PowerPoint. I can send you a video. But of course, if you're absent and it's something that just came up, send me an email, or maybe even send me an email. And if you have a sibling or a friend on campus to come and pick something up, I'm never off campus immediately. Usually I'm around for at least 10 or 15 minutes before I take off. And typically I'm in my classrooms, my classroom at lunch. So you could send somebody by to pick it up. But best way is just to get in touch via email and find out what you're missing. My policy on absent work is if you're absent for one day, let's say it's due Thursday at midnight, you will get until Friday at midnight. Those are for excused absences. If it's a cut, you do not get the extra time. Okay, so please make sure that if you're going to be absent, that those get cleared with the attendance office. If you're absent 2 days, you get 2 days. You may not need the 2 days, but however many days that you're absent, you'll get that number of days. And of course, if I ever make a mistake by taking half of the points off, you can just remind me what was going on and I can go back and adjust that. Labs, there are some labs where I can just assign you some research to do. Some labs that require me setting up equipment. Some labs just cannot be made up. If it's a case where you can't make it up, usually I'll give you something to research, or sometimes I'll even give you data that you can use to answer the questions. Really just kind of depends on which lab we're talking about. But unfortunately, where it does require setup, if you weren't there, I'm not going to be able to set it up for 1 or 2 students. If it's an easy setup and I've got 2 or 3 or 4 kids that all missed it and they can come in after school, I might be able to do that, but I can't guarantee that. Let's see. So an alternate assignment must be done. It's possible, depending on the content within the lab and how important I deem it to be, I might just waive it. In some circumstances, I'll just simply say, you missed this one, so you're going to take a 0 on it now, but the next lab that you do, I'm going to double the points, and then I'll go back and apply the points for that. So obviously, it would be very important that you do very well on the next lab. Book points. There are some circumstances where we will be doing some crossword puzzles. They're kind of fun. You and either a partner sitting next to you or sometimes your entire table will be racing against other students to see who can finish them correctly first. And first place gets double extra credit. So if it's a 3-point crossword puzzle, you would get 4 out of 3. Usually second, third, fourth, first place gets double extra credit and you can hit the candy drawer. Maybe that's important to you, maybe not. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, usually I do about a third of the total groups. They'll get single extra credit, so it would be like 3.5 out of 3. But they're kind of fun. We usually do them right after we finish a chapter, so all the information is kind of fresh in your head. But there will be days that you'll need to bring a book. I will remind you in the agendas that I will be showing you at the beginning of class. In many cases, I will be putting reminders in the emails that I send out every day as well. If you don't bring your book, it's not the end of the world. I do have copies of the chapter that you can use, but you will not get the extra credit for bringing your book. If you remember to bring your book every day, it's probably going to be maybe 10 times per year. It's 10 free points. Running to your locker to get it after class has started is not okay, although if you show up late because you had to go to your locker to get it, that's fine, but you're still going to get the tardy. So please be aware of when you need to bring your book. And if you are absent on a day, please check your email, because unless somebody's telling you to bring your book the next day, the only way you would know is to check your email. Okay. All right, copying and cheating. I'm pretty hardcore about that. iClass is easy. You should be able to do very well on the assignments. A lot of it is participation based. It really rubs me the wrong way when I find kids sharing work with one another. There are many circumstances where it's a lab and you're doing cooperative learning and talking each other through the questions at the table. That's one thing. Talking through it and then making sure that everybody has an understanding and then everybody putting that answer in their own words in those circumstances is appropriate. Having one student that said it best, sharing their answer word for word with another student is not okay. All right, so I don't like to see papers being passed around the table. I like to see students talking about it and then looking at their own paper and then writing down their understanding of what was just discussed. Crossword puzzles, that's the easiest opportunity for you to cheat. It's effort. It's go home and look the rest of it up and turn it in. Most of my assignments are very low point value. Really bugs me when I find a student cheating on a 2 point crossword puzzle. I do document when students are caught cheating, and if it's a serious offense, it might result in a breach of integrity, which goes in your permanent file. If it's something that isn't too serious, I do document the fact that you got caught, and if it happens again, then maybe I escalate it. Just do your own work, kids. It's if you do your own work, it will make you more prepared for the AP test when we get to it in May of 23. Okay. Yeah, if you get caught once, I may not say anything about it. If you get caught more than once, it's going to be an email or a phone call home, and you're going to be reported to the administration. And if it's a big assignment or a test, it's going to be a breach of integrity, and nobody wants to get that, because I think that if you get 2 of them in your 4 years at Rio, it could end up in expulsion. So let's just not go there. My test, I don't really allow students to test in other rooms unless they have an IEP. 504, I can make accommodations by giving extra time. So I'm not really worried about, testing in different locations and sharing those answers. I've got a pretty good system inside of my room. But obviously, phones will not be even in your backpacks during testing. I take those. So I try to eliminate any opportunity for you to make a big mistake. You will have 4 unit tests. I have 4 units, and you'll have a fall final. Your spring final, essentially, I consider the AP test. And if you're not taking the AP test, you don't have a spring final. We have enough to do to get ready for that AP test than to burden you with another final exam. If you are going to miss a test, obviously it would be best to try to get it done in advance. Worst case, I'm usually on campus a half an hour to 45 minutes before the school day starts. We can, get started on it before school, finish it at lunch, get started at lunch, finish it after school. We'll figure it out. I do not typically allow students to test in a different room while their class is going on. If it's an extenuating circumstance and really you have no other options, we can maybe work that out. But just, I'll work with you to get it done. Let's see. You can retake. I'll retake 1 unit test. Sorry, I thought I had my. Oh, yeah. This is contradictory to this. I have decided I'm letting students retake any of my unit tests. The final, no, you cannot retake the final. If you say it's a 50 question test or a 50-point test, and you end up getting a 28 on it, meaning you've missed 22 points, you can retake it and get up to half of those points back. So that 28 plus 11 could turn into a 39. There is a process involved. So you would have to come in and do test corrections. That's going to be on your own time. It's going to be before school. It's going to be at lunch. It's going to be after school if that is scheduled. I'd rather not be after school letting you do it. I'd like you to get it done before school or at lunch. If it's a period where you're a TA maybe and you wanted to come in and do it during one of my different classes, and it's not a period that I have a TA, I don't have a TA 3rd period or 6th period, I could let you do that over at the TA desk, but you have to do test corrections and you have to finish them by a certain time. Usually it's about 4 or 5 school days to get that done. If you did not do the study guide or do all of the study guide, you have to do the entire study guide and you have to show proof of that. They're typically in Google Classroom, but I would check all of those people who are retaking the test to make sure that they did the entire study guide. And then, of course, you have to show up on typically it's 1 day to take the retake. You will be taking the exact same test. It'll just be a different version. The questions will be in different order. You do get to take your test corrections home. So the test corrections cover all the questions you missed. Your study guide covers all the questions that you got right because you got to retake the entire thing. And if you, one, don't finish your test corrections on time, two, don't finish the study guide or don't do it at all, or three, fail to show up on the day of the retake, of course, and if you don't have an explanation for any of these things, you will not be able to retake the test, and I will take 5% off your existing score. So, for example, if you end up with a 30 out of 50, 5% of 50 is 2.5. I would reduce your score from 30 to 27.5. Typically, if a student is motivated to retake the test, they get all this stuff done. I typically don't have this problem with my upperclassmen. It's more of a problem with my freshmen whose parents are making them sign up to redo it, and their heart really is not in it. So kind of that's the process. You will get a study guide for every test. Basically what I do is I write the test and then I write questions that if you know the answer to this question, you should be able to recognize the answer. Remember, all the unit tests are multiple choice. You will also get hints on the fall final about what the free response questions are about. So I'll tell you that you're going to need to know about this, you're going to need to know about this, and you're going to need to know about this. And if you take all that really, really seriously, you should do well on the final. Talked about this taking the AP test. If you get a 5, you get a 10% grade bump first and second semester. If you get a 4, you get a 5% grade bump first and second semester. What I do is I actually save a report that indicates what everybody's exact percentage is. And then when I get the AP test results in the middle of July, I check everybody who had a 4 or a 5, and I go back and I look at their percentages for the first and second semester and determine whether or not they're going to have a grade change. The one thing I do not do, let's say you have 81.6%, which is a B minus, and you get a 4, that would mean it would turn into an 86.6%. So I do not do grade changes from a B minus to a B. I've been told by our counselors that most universities don't use pluses and minuses. Pardon me. Most high school campuses don't use pluses and minuses to actually determine GPA. Of course, if this is a bone of contention with you and you really wanted a B versus a B minus, you can always come back to me and talk to me about it, and we can determine whether or not that's going to happen. There aren't a whole lot of labs. Actually, no, that's for biology. There are some labs where we are using chemicals, and we'll be using goggles. So in those events, I'm really serious about you protecting yourself and being very, very diligent about protecting others in the classroom when doing these labs. If it's a situation where you're, being a knucklehead and not doing what you should be doing, and you are putting yourself and or other students in danger, usually you'll get a verbal warning, and that if it happens again, you will have to, go sit in a different room or go sit outside the VP's office while everybody finishes the lab. Keep it cool in my classroom. It's a pretty fun class. There's a lot of engaging activities, and I want everybody there, but most importantly, I want everybody else to feel safe in addition to you. So just be cool, and I will, of course, let you know when safety is going to be an issue and tell you what my expectations are. Cursing, sorry about my phone. Cursing. There are obviously some words that nobody should ever hear in public. The F word, the S word. Personally, I do not even appreciate the word gay. I know that in some circumstances it means happy. So I've got friends that are, that choose a different lifestyle, and that is a word that is not ever cool. So, if somebody just happens to say a word like the F word and it's not directed at somebody, I'll just simply say, keep it cool. Let's keep it clean in here. But if it is directed at somebody, then I take it very, very personally, and I will act on it swiftly. Keep the classroom environment clean, keep the learning environment satisfactory for everybody, and we're going to be good. Destruction of property. There are some pretty expensive things that we will be using this year. If you are found to have broken or damaged one of these things, I do reserve the right to hold your grades, meaning you will not receive a letter grade. You will receive an incomplete until those tools are replaced. I will let you know whenever you need to be careful about expensive equipment. If it's dropping a beaker, dropping a test tube, on accident, those things are easily replaced. I'm more concerned with my digital scales and some of the reagent test kits that I had to buy over the years. Okay, that is it for the content of the syllabus. That is for you to keep. Let's see, the last page, you'll just simply print your name, sign your name, whatever date you happen to do that. I am very, very good about sharing any information I consider to be important to students, families. Anything I get in my email box that I think a student and or family may be interested in, I forward it. Additionally, I send out information about the class, reminders about things that you should be paying attention to, and you will be the most informed students on campus if you choose to get the emails. Sometimes they're a little burdensome. You're going to get a lot. In a given week, you might get 7 or 8 or 9 of them. But the way that I look at it is it's better to have information and not need it than never have the information to begin with. So this is not mandatory, but if you choose to get those emails, please make sure that your email address is very easy to read. Make sure that a 0 looks like a 0. You can put a line through it versus the letter O. Make sure the 1 looks like a 1 versus the letter L. If there's an underscore, make it very, very, very obvious. Best way to do it is just simply slow down with your handwriting when you're doing it. Most of you guys are going to give me your student email account for San Juan. If you've got a personal Yahoo or Gmail, that's fine. It's better to have more than one just in case something happens with one. You'll still get it in the other one. Additionally, I do not need multiple signatures and names from a parent or guardian, just one. If you happen to live with different parents, doesn't really matter to me which one I get. And then an email address, and there are additional emails. So, for example, if you live with 2 different parents in 2 different households, but they both want to be a part of your high school experience, and they both kind of want to know what's going on, just to be more informed and to maybe encourage you to get more involved. I would appreciate having the multiple emails, but again, this is not mandatory. I even have parents who are friends of my students' parents ask if they can get my emails. I have students ask to get the emails after they've taken my class, just simply because they appreciate all that I share. It really gives them more of an opportunity to be a part of the Rio community. And that's a really big part of my teaching philosophy is community, the classroom community, the school community, and then the Carmichael, Arden, Arcade, and College Greens, College Glen community as well. And I really enjoy sharing what's going on campus, and that gives families and students an opportunity to make their high school experience a little bit more fun. So in any event, please make sure that your parents understand that these should be written very, very legibly. And then what I will do is it'll take me about a week to enter all of these into my distributions, and I will send a test email out. And of course, a whole bunch of them bounce back because I've entered them wrong or I couldn't read them correctly. But what I'll do is I'll normally ask students, hey, is this what the email should say? Oh, no, that should, that's this, that, I'll try to work that out. In some circumstances, I'll even get on the phone and call a parent and find out what their email is. Because if they're putting their email down, they obviously want to get the information, and I want to make sure that I provide that for them. All right, y'all, that is all I have for you. There will be a due date for you to get this signed. Again, you keep all the other pages. You're going to tear this one off. Make sure that you print your name so I can actually know who to give the points for. If you get them back by that due date, you'll get full credit. And if it takes a couple days after that and you don't provide me a good reason, I'll start deducting points. So this is actually considered an assignment. All right, y'all, we will see you when I get there.